Hey, welcome. It's Captain Matt, Boater Secret Weapon. I want to thank you for joining us for this Sunday night live. We're getting ready to start here in just a couple of minutes here. We'll start about 8:30, but I wanted to welcome you. If you've never been to a live, here's what you can expect. Just go ahead and chat in your comment section, whether you're on Facebook, whether you're on YouTube. Just ask your question, leave your comment there, and then as we go through the time, I just kind of scroll down all the comments and I try to answer them. Now, if it's something that I need to ask you a question, I may ask you a question and just put it in the chat again, and I'll come back and I'll get that information so I can give you a more personalized response, something that's going to really add value for you. This is just something I do. One, it's great fun. I really enjoy it. It's helpful for the community, just sharing my knowledge. Now, one thing that you need to know, I don't know everything about boats. I know a lot about boats. I've been a boater since I was 5. I've sold boats. It's something that is a big part of my life. With that said, I don't know everything. Matter of fact, sailboats, have zero experience with sailboats. Bass boats, very little experience there. Bow riders, deck boats, center consoles, jet boats, twin engines, stern drives, outboards, inboards, all of that I have experience with. And if I have an answer, I'll give you my best answer. If I don't have an answer, I'll try to give you a resource that will be valuable for you. If I have an opinion, I'll try to give you that opinion, but let you know this is what I think, not what I absolutely know. So I look forward to it. Here's a little video intro that a subscriber made for me. Thanks, Bo. And we'll see you on the live when it kicks off here in just a moment. Welcome, everybody. Let me know that that you can hear me good, and we will go ahead and start this live. Welcome, Ray and Bo and Hux. Appreciate you joining us. Sounds like Ray had a pretty good weekend, potentially, or not. Juice, welcome. Corey, welcome. Corey, I think Corey was on last week. Ray, you haven't had good weather this season at all. Not at all. Guy Job, welcome. Perfect Bo, welcome, Bo. And welcome, everybody. Welcome, everybody. So if this is your first live, well, actually, what the heck am I doing? It's like it's my first live. There we go. Here's how it works. Throw your comments into the chat, and I will put them up. I will put them up on the screen here, and we'll just answer questions as they come in. If you've got any insight, anything to add to the conversation, throw it in. And remember, we try to keep this a friendly, helpful community, have some fun, and see if we can help some folks answer some questions and just talk boats for a little bit. So let's go ahead and Tim and Nick trolling off Reverse Beach for stripers right now. That's all right. You get watching a little of this and doing a little fishing, so that's good. Now that's not good, Bo. That is definitely not good at all. Hopefully the one that we've been talking about, I think it was the Discovery, is something that is in the future. So that sucks. Definitely don't want to have that happen. The good thing though is the season's slowing down, depending on I don't remember where you are for sure. If you're down in Florida or not. All right. I'm wondering about your view on the difference in inflatable boats buying and selling. Thank you, sir. I don't know the ribs, the inflatable boats. I have zero experience with those. So I don't have anything to add on that conversation. I know Alfred with his channels, he started, I think he refurbished, flipped some inflatables down there in Florida. So if you go back in some of his older stuff, before the pandemic. I think you might find something that would be valuable there. But unfortunately, I don't have any insights to help you with there. So I was wondering if that little scroll down at the bottom was going to make it too tight, but I think that's working out okay. So I apologize about that guide job. Matt, welcome. Bought a 22 Chaparral SSI, out of state dealer. Heard some horror stories, refusing to service boats if not bought from them. It's the reality. I just had a comment on one of my videos where I talk about that, and it's the comment was, that seems pretty petty. My auto dealer where I bought my whatever, I think it was a Toyota or something, they don't do that. They service me great. They do an outstanding job. Yes, it may be petty, but it's the reality of the supply and demand. So the dealers, their service department is usually sized for the number of boats they sell. So because technicians are very hard to come by, which is why Bo is in a great position going to MMI, even though his engine just blew up. When he finishes up with school, he's going to be able to walk in and do a work with a dealership, get some experience if that's the way he wants to go, because there's a huge demand for good technicians. Now, what that means is, if the Chaparral dealer in your area doesn't have extra capacity in their service department, they're going to take care of the people that bought the boats from them before they take care of you. Now, hopefully, and depending on where you are, some dealers are better at this than others. Some dealers are say, hey, bring on all the service we can get. And they've got huge service departments, more than any boats that they could sell, saying, hey, if we do a great job on service, those are potential people that can buy boats from us down the line because we take care of them so well, even if they didn't buy their boat. There are some of those. It's just not the norm in the industry because of the short supply of good technicians. What I would do is, Matt, is I would go and meet my local Chaparral dealer, say, hey, you didn't have a 21 SSI. Now, here's where they can get a little bit petty. This is where the pettiness comes in. If they had a 21 SSI, but they wouldn't meet the price that you wanted, and you went and saved $2,000 by going 500 miles away and bought from a competitive dealer, and they'll know this because they get reports from their manufacturer saying, hey, this boat was just registered in your market area. And they'll be like, we didn't sell that one. And then there's some hubbub behind the scenes potentially. That's when they get upset. If they didn't have a 21 SSI and you went, which very well could be the situation right now, just go and meet them. Try to start forming a relationship now. Try to get them to do your winterization before you need warranty work. Try to get in there. If they have storage, if they sell fuel, if you can buy your parts from there. So just start building a relationship in some way. Go buy your gear from them. Go buy some inflatables, some tubes, some life jackets, whatever, dock lines. Start building that relationship, and that will help you. Again, depending on what the dealer is, may not be an issue, but it is something that is the reality of the boating world, that they're only going to sell, even a good Chaparral dealer may only sell 50 Chaparrals a year. And if one of those goes and buys from a dealer out of state, it can be, it can be impactful on some of these dealerships, and it can just tick them off. There can be a pettiness to it. So let's see. Hopefully those ideas can help you. Weather changes every 10 minutes. I just did the video. I just did a 4-part video series that will be coming out soon. You can see it here, of top boating lakes in the US. I did a 4-part. There's like, oh shoot, I don't know, 30 bodies of water that I cover. Torch Lake is one of them. I know you're in Indiana, but that one, depending on you probably are aware of that one. So anyway, that's a video series. I think one of them just hit Let's see. Yeah, one of them just went out about an hour ago. So anyway, that's is that. Let's come back here. I'm in a little bit of a funky mood. I just had to yell at my girls for them doing something dumb right before bed. So, um, I think I'm getting back on track. Mid to high range tenders. Yeah, I just mentioned that I don't have. I wish I did. Sorry about that. Thank you for being a fan still. And I try, like I try to stay in my lane. As if I don't know, I try to just let you know I don't know. So thanks for understanding, and that's better than me giving you false information. Experience with turbo swings. I haven't used one personally, but I know a lot of boaters that think they're great. You don't have to worry about damaging your ski tow bar. I did a video on that for the pontoon specifically, but it's a great way to keep that rope away from your prop with your outboard. They are very durable. I haven't heard any issues of people having them break or causing issues. I think they look kind of goofy hanging off the back of your boat, but the reality is they're pretty good at what they do. They allow it to kind of swing back and forth. And if you're looking to put one on your sportsman, it to do some water sports or to do some tubing specifically, I think you would be happy with the results of doing that versus getting the Y harness and maybe a booster ball. That would be your other option, which that's what I do on the pontoons when I run pontoons. Is I do a Y harness off the hooks that you're going to put your transom straps on, and then run that back to the tube. Other side of Washington State. There you go. Couldn't get any further away from Florida. So, um, not okay. So you found the Maxim Cuddy with the Cobra drive. Okay, so the SX Cobra, that's better than the when I hear Cobra, the OMC, even though they're very very similar. It's I think you're okay with that. The parts are available. Again, Bo, you've probably heard me say this 100 times. Maxim, it's more about how that Maxim was taken care of, how that Volvo 5.0 was taken care of, and you've got the expertise, or you're gaining the expertise now, how to kind of check those things, checking compression, checking the gear lube, that kind of stuff, and making sure the floor is solid. Maxim was the mid tier that Brunswick put together. So they had Sea Ray, they had Bayliner. They started Maxim from scratch, and that lasted for I don't know how long. I think just less than 10 years before they shut it down. But it was that mid level that they were trying to get. What happened is Sea Rays started building cheaper Sea Rays, Bayliner started building better Bayliners, and they just squeezed out the need for having three brands and basically competing against themselves. So, but I think that's from what you're looking for. I think that could be a pretty good option for you. Just make sure it's solid, because the transom, the stringers, dig through all that. And if you haven't, let's see here if I can pull this up. If you haven't, Bo, older tips for avoiding headaches on older boats, I would watch that video. I just go into some of the details of things that can happen on a boat that's a little bit older. So, let's see. Todd, welcome, Todd. 2001 Mercruiser 5.7 fuel injected. Start them first thing in the morning. They start fine. If I drive somewhere, dock for a couple hours, and try to start again, they're hard starting. Fuel injected. What would be my first thing? Maybe a fuel problem. Maybe need to check your fuel filters. Um, but if it's starting right up, there might be, yeah, that could be what it is. You're getting something in those filters, or plugging the jets after that fuel gets running through the system, and then it sits and it kind of settles down a little bit. Or just some water in the fuel. That might be something. But if anybody else has any suggestions, Todd, if you've watched this channel a significant amount, you know I am not a technician. As a matter of fact, that's why this is something that I am starting to do. A friend of mine, Mike, has a Charlotte Boat Repair, and I had him, if this pulls up, maybe. Anyway, he does the service on a, he does the service. I'll give him there we go. That's the frame I was looking for. We did he did a 100-hour service on a fleet of veranda pontoons that are in a rental fleet. 70 horsepower, 4-stroke. I think it was a 2019 or 2020 Yamaha Charlotte Boat Repair. And I had him do that because that's not my area of expertise. We talked about him maybe joining me on a live and being that technical expert to tap into. So hopefully we can coordinate that on future lives. Let's see if anybody else has a thought. Okay. I just saw your comment. All right. Without getting political, thank you for not getting political. I stay away from that 100%. Any thoughts on boat power plants? Corey, I did a video on, let's see here. I did this video on electric boats back 7 months ago. I ran the new 180 horsepower electric by eVision Marine, eMarine Vision, one of those two. I don't know I don't remember it, but there's the motor right there on that image. And I talk about my thoughts on where it's going. The short version is I think we're a ways away from electric getting into the marine world for most pleasure boaters. Now, if you're talking some ferry type boats that aren't going to be doing a lot of speed, they've got very consistent routes. We know how that's going to work. Okay. If we're talking about people that just want to show that they're environmentally friendly and they're not going to be using their boats a ton and they have the resources, I think they're buying some of them. But if you looked at the numbers of electric boats that were purchased, it was in the double digits. So less than 100 electric boats were purchased last year. It's not going to increase. In my mind, there are other issues with going electric. Is you still have to produce the electricity, and there's issues that come with that. You've got the issues of the raw materials for the batteries, but I don't think we're at the battery density level yet. On the flip side, I think there's a lot of cool things that can be done with electric motors because they're small. They just need to be cooled. You're in the water, so they can be cooled in certain ways. They can be cooled a little bit easier than others. But my cousin, my wife's cousin, is he works in the U.S. Air Force. They've got a group that is sort of the liaison between the private sector and the U.S. Air Force. So he's a contractor there. And I was talking to him about, the future of drones and taxi drones and things like that. He's like, it's amazing what you can do because you have your power source right there. You don't have to convert it from a combustible engine into whatever rotation you need. He said, I could imagine in boats it being amazing. And he said, I've looked into it a little bit, but so I think the potential is pretty big, but I think we're a ways off with the infrastructure. Now we've got to have serious chargers by the water. Electricity and water are a bad combination. So I think we're probably 10 years away before we're going to see any significant change to the marine industry. And just like anything like this, there's a lot of newcomers that, hey, let's all be a part of this. Let's get some of the money that's available for going green. And, it's a new emerging market, but just like anything like that, there's going to be a lot of losers and a handful of winners. But I think that's going to shake out over the next 10 years or more, assuming that the battery density issue it gets better and better. So that's I guess that wasn't really the short version, but you can watch that video. It's 20 some minutes long. The one that's a little bit older is the one where I actually have the video. One of them, the sound was all messed up, so I redid it. So, all right, Matt bought a boat in Indiana, kept it down in Tennessee. Contact a local dealer. Chaparral already bought an anchor. Yeah, so that's what you want to do. So your story will help. So, hey, I live in Indiana. I've got a place in Tennessee, or we moved to Tennessee, whatever it is. And my in-laws have a place in Knoxville, and we go to Lake Loudon a lot. The Chaparral dealer there, I know, I'm sure I've met them and have had conversations. Most of the dealers in the Knoxville area, if that's where you are pretty good dealers. And so you're on the right track. Just continue to go in there. Anytime you're down in the Tennessee area, stop by, let them know what you got, buy a little something, give them some money. Get them to do, hey, can I get in for a quick service in their slow time? Here's what will happen is, Matt, is somebody will buy a boat from out of state and they'll come in and they'll say, hey, I need to get winterized before, September 20th. Well, that's when they're the busiest in most parts of the country on winterizations. They come and they say, hey, I need to get my boat ready for the summer for Memorial Day. And they show up on May 15th. That will drive a dealer insane, and you'll be on the list. They will have a long memory on that. But in your situation, if you go and you say, hey, my 20-hour service or my initial service is coming up, can you squeeze me in from, I can get the boat there anytime from October to February. Can you squeeze? Now you get in their system, and now you're a client of theirs. And if a warranty item comes up, you've kind of already got that relationship. Might be a way to improve that situation. What do I think of Boat Club used boats, 20,000 hours or so? It depends on the situation. So if it's a saltwater boat, I'm probably going to stay away. That's a lot of hours to have salt running through. And just, it's a lot of wear and tear because of the harshness of the environment. 2,000 hours though. This is a tough one. Okay. Cause I don't want to steer you wrong, but I also don't want to say walk away completely. I give on a pleasure power boat, and a pleasure power boat is not a boat club or a rental. Bob owns the boat. Bob runs the boat 20 times a year, and puts 50 to 100 hours on a year. That engine is going to run 5,000, 1,500, maybe 2,000 hours before you have some major, major issues. But Bob services his boat every year, maybe every 2 years, every 50, every 100 hours. The boat club boats, the rental boats that I just mentioned Mike was working on, he changes the oil, the gear lube, changes the fuel water separator, changes the fuel filter every month in the season, and every 2 months out of the season. We can run 24 months or 24 months. We can run 12 months out of the year here. So he's doing a service on that boat every month. Those engines, because they're taken such great care of and they're consistently run, that's key for mechanical things, is to be consistently run and consistently maintained. He said we had engines that we put, 2, 3. He said, I think we had one that had 4,000 hours on it, on a rental boat that gets run fairly hard, but because they maintain it so well, it's always got clean gear lube. It's always got clean oil. It's always running clean fuel because they run non-ethanol. They're always changing their filters. They're always doing those little things. They're pulling the props. They're doing those things that in pleasure boaters, because we don't use them as much, they're not as maintained as well, and things sit. and things sit and something's a little bit off, a seal's just barely leaking and you don't notice it, and it goes that way for a while. Those I would stay away from. The boat clubs, 2,000 hours, even if it's the best maintained, it's going to go into that pleasure boat situation. I would probably stay away from it. But if it's freshwater club, if it's a Yamaha outboard, maybe. If you're not going to use it a ton, maybe. But it's still a lot of use on an engine. If it's a stern drive, I'm probably walking completely. Stern drive, I'm not touching it. But if it's a Yamaha or Mercury, maybe a Suzuki, um, in the right circumstance, I would consider it at the right price. But no, there's going to be some things that are going to start to wear out that you're going to have to deal with to keep the boat in good running order. So hopefully that makes sense to you. Yeah, rubbing on the power poles. It's that's one that can be an issue. On the brighter side of things, took my grandfather's out fishing, North River, jet still running great except for the trailer, which there's always something, right? There's always something that's got to be maintained, and that it's those little things. It's those little things that can add up. So, Todd, change out the fuel water separator first. Not tuned up in a while. Might want to try that. Thank you, Corey, for adding that. Hopefully, fuel doesn't go through the roof. Todd, you're welcome. You're very welcome for that. Dennis, what's a good solid starter cabin cruiser? 3 kids. So, it depends on what your budget is if you're looking new or pre-owned, but here's what I would look for. Tell me a little bit about your situation, where you're at. Are you going to overnight on it? Are you going to spend 2 or 3 nights on it, or would you spend a week at a time on it? How old are the kids? Tell me a little bit about that, Dennis, and I'll start sharing, and then I will and budget, and then I'll get to some more specifics. So here's my thought on cruisers. I think they can be great. They get awfully small the more time that you're spending on them overnighting. So if you're just using it as a day boat, but you want that cabin for the kids to go down under, that's one thing. 24, 26, 28 feet is going to be okay. If you are going to be sleeping on that boat with kids, you've got in a traditional cruiser. So we'll say this is a cruiser. You've got your V berth. You've got maybe a little dinette, a kitchenette that turns into a sleeping area, or maybe you've got a couch that pulls out and turns into a small sleeping area. And then you've got the aft cabin that is up and under the cockpit where the helm sits here, and it's up and under. It's a full beam of the boat. For me, I'm 6'2". That's to me, that's the best place to sleep if you're tall, because you can lay full out. The V berth, your feet are probably going to hang off the edge, but you've also got to be, depending on how big the boat is, until you get to about a 28 foot, you got to be pretty flexible to get down in a 24 or 26 foot into that aft cabin. Or sleeping area, I guess. It's not really a cabin. So you've got room on a 28 for everybody to sleep. The more time you're spending on it, that's going to get really, really tight. So I say with the family of 5, a 31 foot or above, if you're going to be spending, 2, 3, 4 days on a time consistently. If it's just once or twice a year, hey, it's a fun adventure. But if it's most weekends, you're going to get cramped. You're going to get tight. So look for the right size, look for the right features. If you are, let's see if you chimed in with some extra. All right. So if you buy a boat without a generator, understand that you won't have air conditioning in the cabin when you're away from the dock. So any overnighting will be done at the dock, unless you're in a cooler climate and and you're okay without having the AC. You only have AC when you're plugged in, something a lot of people don't think about when they're getting new into the cruiser lifestyle. Same thing with, some of the other appliances may not work, or you have to be really cautious that you don't run out your batteries, running the microwave and some things like that. Brands, I think in the cruiser category, I think Sea Ray makes the best, but it's the most expensive. Bo is exactly right. That Bayliner Sierra gives you a ton of space for the money. Just make sure you watch this video, how to buy a used cruiser. Cruiser. This video right here, how to buy a used cruiser, 24 to 50 foot. There'll be a lot of things that you need to inspect on some of the older Bayliners. There can be little things that are issues, but overall, it's a ton of boat for the money. And if it fits your budget, can be a great way to get on there. But just make sure, because a lot of people that buy Bayliners, it's their first boat. They don't know how to take, they either don't have the budget, they don't know how, or they just don't always take care of it really well. So you may have to look for the ones that have been well maintained, especially if it's a little bit older. In that range, the rinkers over a period of time in the 2000s to 2012 or so, before they got shut down, Rinker made a good cruiser. But it depends. Your budget is a big part of where I would. Okay, there we go. Lake Michigan, budget around 30 to 50,000. Be at a marina. Kids are little. Okay, 0, 2, and 8 would like to explore, explore Lake Michigan, traveling up, make week-long trips. Yeah. So with the little ones, you're probably okay 28 feet on Lake Michigan, watching the weather, things like that. I think you'd be pretty happy with 26, 28, even 31, I think would be good. And again, I'm 6'2", over 200 pounds. My wife is almost 6 feet. My kids are off the charts on the height. When we are in those types of situations, it gets cramped really quick. So size matters a little bit. Having the infant and a 2-year-old, the 8-year-old is going to be happy to crawl in any little cubby that he can get in or she can get in, and will think it's great. But check out that video, the used cruisers. Just remember, there's a lot of systems on those boats, things under the floor, bilge pumps, raw water pumps, freshwater pumps. You've got plumbing for the head. You've got, in that age, you might have to start look at replacing some of the plumbing to that head compartment. Some of the bilge pumps, some of the gray water pumps. Just make sure that they're clean. The air conditioning, make sure that's been maintained. If it's got a generator, make sure that's been maintained. There's a lot of systems that you got to check out. And this is probably the best piece of advice that I gave when I was working with people looking at cruisers. I'd say, here's what you need to do is you need to go and sit in a cruiser for about an hour and think about how you're going to sleep. Think about how you're going to cook. Think about how you're going to use it on the cockpit, in the cabin, and get a sense for what size you need. That's my opinion on the sizes, the 24, probably 28 being a really good size. But what's right for you? And if you spend an hour in a cabin, you'll get the sense for what it's going to be like if you're pulled into a marina, cruising the Lake Michigan, and you're like, yeah, we could spend a full weekend down here playing board games and having a good time. If the rain's coming, we got the camper canvas, we've got that part. But spending some time in that cabin, I think is helpful. So, all right. Hopefully that was valuable for you. Corey, thanks. See the way that they're really forcing electric vehicles for your boats could be X. Yeah. They're pushing it. But here's the thing with boaters is if it doesn't work, you can buy a Tesla because it's an amazing experience, regardless of the electric side of things. You're like, God, this is awesome. This is better. But on a boat, it's just not. It's not better, except for if you say, but there's no emissions. Well, there's no emissions as you're running it, but there's other environmental impacts, and I think it's a ways out. So, um, yeah, I was looking, um, like my wife lives in West Virginia. I'm like, that'd be awesome. I would love to have a Tesla to put it in the autopilot mode and driving up there the 6 hours, or if we drive to the Lake of the Ozarks, because we typically drive, it's easier than flying in 3 hours of flying and the airport and all that, an hour to the airport, and then 3 hour drive to the Ozarks, renting a car. I'm like, if we had a Tesla, we could just go load it up. I could drive, but I don't have to be on high alert like I am all the time. But you can't get there. You can't get that far, and have charging stations along the way. Imagine that in a boat. If you get stuck in a boat, you're not just going to find a charging station somewhere. Cito's not going to be able to bring you enough battery powers to get you back to the dock. So anyway, those are my thoughts on it. Found winter storage under $450. Wow. Standard pricing around here. Shrink wrap around $350. Yeah, I think $350 is a pretty good price. So $800 total for your winter storage. I think is a pretty good total price. Just make sure, Hucks, make sure they're putting vents in. So you want to make sure that includes venting. Yours is a 19-foot, so I would say at least 2 vents. You probably don't need to get into the boat, but if for whatever reason you want to be able to have access to get in, even a zipper door, you probably don't need that on a bigger boat. I would say, yeah, that might be valuable. But I know you clean everything out, pull everything out, open the cushions, put your dry rid in there, and then let them go to town shrink wrapping it. But that sounds pretty good to me. And let's see here. Ran in service quarterly, bi-monthly, flushed almost daily. Answer is helping me. But good. I always try not to be too doom and gloom, but also try to be realistic about the situation. So glad that was valuable for you. Blast Turtle. I like that. Any thoughts on Baja Islander? Found a clean 0592, considering for budget friendly first bow rider. Yeah. So I mentioned this talking to Bo. I mentioned this talking to Dennis about his cruiser. When you're looking at a boat that boat is 17 years old. The Bayliners, they're fine. They're mid-level boats. They're go fast boats. So the person that buys the Baja is gonna run that thing. They're gonna, they like to run wide open throttle. They like to get the most out of it. Stereotyping, but I've known several Baja owners, and they all push their boats hard, and they run them hard. They party hard. That is, in my mind, is a typical Baja guy. Fine. Just make sure they didn't run that boat too hard. So compression for sure. Drive, check for any shavings in the gear loop. Everything you would do for an older boat. This video right here, and then everything that we talk about in the First Time Boat Buyer Academy and our other buying a used boat video. But you're also going to want to check in 2005. I'm trying to think. Baja had, I think, I'm thinking about wood in the boat, wood stringers and wood transom rot. Just to be cautious. I don't remember when they made the switch, but get your big screwdriver and tap that hole. So on the back, anywhere that there's a bolt or something that's going through, you're going to tap it, and you want to hear a nice firm tick, 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 like it's just bouncing off. That gel coat's nice and hard and it's bouncing off. if you hear a thud, 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 and it's not bouncing back, well, now you know you've got water in there, and stay away from it. There's issues that, unless you want a project boat, and if you do, know that going in, pay an appropriate price, know what you're getting into. But do that everywhere there's a through hull. Open that ski locker, get a screwdriver and kind of poke anywhere that you can kind of get it in, see if there's anything soft in there. In the engine compartment as well, where all the bolts are, for that stern drive, poke that screwdriver around, see if you find any soft spots, anything that says maybe there's water in the stringers, maybe there's some delamination, maybe there's some moisture in the transom, and anywhere that there's something that goes through the gel coat, the bilge, where the bilge comes out, where the the D rings are on the transom assembly on the lower unit on that Mer Cruiser, that you're really tapping good there, and then just tap up and down the bottom and the sides, and be very, very diligent in that on a boat like that, and then go through the engine and the drive completely to make sure that that you're buying one that's mechanically sound. Okay, so oh, did you go get that for me, honey? Turn that light on, baby. Oh, whoops, sorry. My wife just, I always have a Pepsi I usually have a Pepsi while we're doing these, and my girls spilled mine. That's what set me off. And then she wrote me a note that they ate her ice cream too, so she's not happy with them either. Oh, I love my children. 8 and 10 years old, 8 and 11 years old. I guess she's 11 now. Anyway, so all right. Hopefully that was helpful for you on that one. Let's see if I. All right. Let's see. All right. Future reference. Gideon. Call me Gid if you want. Okay. Perfect. That it's funny when I get emails from people. Oh, like here you go. This one. The Finger Lakes in New York, right? He's ZKR 99 has been active in the channel for I don't know, 3 years, probably almost since I started it. I've been seeing his name pop up, but I got an email from him, and I kept getting him mixed up with another guy because real world names, screen names, and then you got people like Bo that have 3 different screen names, and you're like trying to figure out who everybody is. So, all right, Gideon, welcome and thank you for introducing yourself. I kind of want a StarCraft chieftain. I don't know what a chieftain is. Star chieftain. Um, I don't know how to spell very good. Okay, that's an interesting looking boat. Um, all right, I like that. Project boat. Um, Getting in there. Yeah, that's a cool looking little usable cabin. I like that with the upper helm too. Yeah, that looks like a good project boat there. Hopefully, I'm not showing one that you're looking at. Um, but I love, there are so many different brands and models of boats out there that sometimes I don't know what they are, but I always love looking them up and seeing what other kind of grab other people's attention and have them getting excited. So I like that. I like that a lot. All right. Um, StarCraft defines an entire section of my life. Yeah, they were I I need to do a history on them. I've done it on a few brands, but their current deck boats are, I mean, couldn't be any different than this. Flat bottoms, virtually no dead rise. Um, not value to maybe a little bit higher than value. I wouldn't put them in mid tier yet, but yeah, it's interesting to see how brands change over time. Um, all right. woke people digital gaming. um, all right, let's see here. Dennis, watch that video. Good. Inboard scare the hell out of me. Yeah, it. Dennis, if you're leaving it in the water, you really have to be cautious of that. If you're leaving it in the water, you got to be cautious that the boat, your boat, doesn't get the drives eaten off. I just listened to it's the all things boating podcast, and this guy's got a Bayliner, Paulie, he's got a detail shop, been a longtime boater. It's a good educational podcast. They've got big personalities, and I think it's pretty good. But he talked about in the episode I just listened to that his Bravo 3 drive got eaten up. Well, he left it in over the winter, and you've got to pull those things. You've got to pull them and inspect them. You got to make sure your anodes are good. You've got to make sure there's no electrical current in the slip near you. He's in salt water. You've got to make sure that if you've got the mercathodes, do everything you can, because all it takes is a little bit of stray current from your boat or a neighbor, and those drives can get eaten up in a season or a half a season is if it's really bad. And and then with the Bravo 3s, you've got the two big stainless steel props and that aluminum gear casing, so you've got a lot of the electrolysis and just everything that can go with it. So that means if you're buying a boat that's in the water and has lived a portion of its life in the water, you got to really go through that drive and make sure the seals are good. You've got to make sure that they've maintained it. Make sure that you haul that boat out before you write the check. But you got to go up to if you're looking at that price range, 30 to 50,000, you got to go up to a 34, 32, 34, 36 footer before you can get V drives or shaft drives. And now you just put yourself in another 5-10 year older boat, which has, other problems associated with it. So you just really monitor those lower units if you're leaving it in water, and cautiously scared, be smart about it. There's a lot of people that do it, but just, you can test if there any current in the water at your slip. You can put the mercathodes on as a preventative measure, and just put the biggest anodes on that it will hold, with the right metal based on your water that you're in, and then check those puppies all the time. Keep up on them. So, let's see here. Todd, Dennis, I have a perfect 310 dancer for sale. No starting issues. There you go. That's that 310 dancer. Like I said, and that 310 dancer in '01 is actually a 33-foot boat. So it's in 2009, I think they started calling it no, maybe it was 2009 or 10. They started calling that a 330. So that's actually a 33-foot boat, and that's going to have plenty of room. They're nice and open. They've got the pedal steps, I think, on that year, if I remember right, which opens up that aft cabin, and makes it really nice and open. So, all right, let's see here. I think we're staying up pretty good. Where did I go? Hey, let me know, guys. Do you think that scroll at the bottom, is that distracting? Is that okay? I kind of wanted to promote my free stuff, if that's anything anybody would find valuable, and let people know how it works. And obviously, I always take a second to try to sell something here. I do this for free, but I also I love the contributions and the help. Let me know if that's distracting or if that's okay. All right, Brock, I would much rather have my old EFI. These new motors have a lot better torque curve. Yeah, for sure. Worried about the used market repairability in like 10 years. Yeah, it's it seems to continue to happen. The more advanced the technology get, the better, like Brock says, the torque curve, as they improve, it usually adds a layer of complexity to it. The more complexity, the more difficult it is for the average person or even a technician that isn't used to working on that particular brand. It also opens it up to this is one of the things that I worry about with the electric boats, but also with some of the new fancy whiz bang gadgets that they come out with on the boats, the technology, the touch screens. That company's going strong now, but the boating industry is up and down and up and down. What happens when the person that makes that aftermarket touchscreen or that component, that ECM for that electric motor, what happens when that company goes out of business in that downward cycle? Because it's always going to happen. And now you can't get that replacement part because there weren't very many of them built. They were custom for that boat, and now you've got to come up with another workaround and hope that some third party comes along and has those parts. And I just don't know. I don't know Mercury, Yamaha, Suzuki, their components are just different enough that other than maybe you can use some of the same filters, probably not. The fuel water separators are pretty standard, but some of the other things, you got to make enough of them for it to be worthwhile for the aftermarket companies to say, yeah, we'll build those, even if that main provider goes out of business. And it's a reasonable concern, I think. Electric cars take over gas. Each gas station would be an electric charging station. Yeah, it's just there's a lot to it, and we can't even figure it out on land. Now try to do this on the water where where these marinas are at. I just did my video series on the top. Let's see here, the best boating lakes in the U.S. And I would give, as I gave it, I would say, this, like Lake of the Ozarks, it's 3 hours west of Kansas City, 3 hours east of St. Louis. It's in the middle of nowhere. There's times where it's even difficult to get fuel down to the place at the marina because it's in the mountains. And now you're going to try to get these high powered electrical things in a place where it's difficult. A lot of logistics that I don't think get thought about a lot. Yeah, you're on big screen. Well, that's good. That's good. I don't know that my mug needs to be on a big screen, but London says, just found your site. Wanted to thank you for the info. In the market for a family-friendly boat, Southwest Florida, under 30K. You're very welcome, London. That's exactly why we are here. Grab the toolkit. It is it's something that will be valuable for you in your search, whether you're buying new or used. It's like 25 pages. It has a bunch of checklists and stuff. We've got over 400 videos on the channel, so start digging through there and seeing what's going to help you in your market based on the type of boats that you're looking for. And always join us on these lives and throw your question in. Glad to have you for sure. No one buys a Baja to put around the lake. Yeah, exactly. I say the same thing about jet boats. You don't buy a Yamaha jet boat or a Scarab jet boat or a Vortex. If you had one of those, you don't buy that because you just want to, as my dad would say, toopy around the lake. You get that because it's quick, it's fun. You got that speed gene in you. And like Charlie here, Charlie didn't buy his Yamaha because he wanted to go slow. He wants to get on it every now and again. Should I put new plugs in the twin engines before going into storage? Spring when it comes out, 45 days and counting. Get the most out of it that you can. Here is, I don't know that it matters, but I would probably say go ahead and do it in the spring. There's two theories of thought here. And I don't know that I'm smart enough to have the right answer. But the first is get all the service done so that you put it away with clean everything. And it's sitting with clean oil and clean plugs and all of that. and if there's if there's water in it, you find it. Now in your boat, you're not going to have water in your plugs. It's brand new. Um, where I differ is if you've got a carbureted engine and you got to fog it. That's when I say definitely do your fluid changes and do that kind of stuff um, in the spring, because you change your oil, you change your gear lube, you put new plugs on, and then the first thing you do is spray your fogging spray in there, and now you caked up everything. Your oil will be dirty, and that's the only time where I have a really strong preference. But I really don't think it'll be a matter one way or another. But when you're going to do your other service, just do it at that point, and you're not fogging your engines on that Yamaha. So I don't think it's really going to matter for you. Let's see. Blast Turtle. Definitely not looking for a project boat. Been going through your whole YouTube page past 2 weeks trying to gather all the knowledge I can. Awesome. And I'm glad that you showed up here on the live. It's just it's funny. I've talked to people that are like, they asked a question that I didn't even know I cared about until I heard the answer. I went off on a tangent or whatever, and just it opens your mind to different things that can be valuable for you in your shopping and your owning, and just interesting information. Welcome from Charleston. Good to have you, truck diver. The I need to get back down to Charleston and do some more on my coastal edition. But I love that the dive site. I checked out the dive site that you sent the other day from, what was it? I think it was 2 weekends ago that you had mentioned where you were diving. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Catch all those videos pointed out for sure. This one in return, thank you. You're very welcome. You're absolutely welcome. Finger Lakes in New York are amazing. Back in Maryland, we had a club tournament there. Smallmouth fish, would love to go back. That's one that has not been on my list. And Boater Tom, I haven't seen him on here yet. But Boater Tom had another lake that wasn't on my list that I need to add in. Looks like there's going to be a part 5. So if anybody's got some awesome lakes that they've been to, let me know. Or awesome lakes that are on their list of places they want to go, let me know, because I think there's probably a part 5 coming too. Might also like Skagit if you like that look. Dirt Dude, I think oh, I'm not sure if Dirt Dude, if that was for ZKR 99 or if that was for Blast Turtle on the Baja. I don't know that brand. That's a new one. Let's check that out. Let's see here. There we go. Okay, yeah, that's very, very similar with the outboards too. That might be, I don't remember. I think those had stern drives on the, but that definitely makes the refurbing, getting into that project, a little bit, easier to just put some newer outboards on there. And if you don't want to dive into all the mechanical stuff, hey, you got to have your dreams. You got to have your pipe dreams. If not, you got to have that big thing that you're like, someday. Um, all right, Dennis, speaking about being scared of inboards, so Wellcraft 290 two outboards. Yeah, for sure. The outboards, you don't see them very often, but the I think that's going to be Coastal 290. I think that's going to be similar to the Sea Ray Amberjack, which was a stern drive or inboard boat, but it's the same concept. It was a fishing cruiser that gives you the ability to tilt them all the way out. What you do give up is you give up the comfort because the deck is laid out for fishing. Um, and then you give up, it looks like on these, that cabin is a little bit smaller because they're giving you more deck space, but that's not bad. That looks like um, yeah, it's got those pedestal steps, which really opens up that aft and makes it easier to get back there. You've got your head compartment. Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that style working for you. Um, Most of these are going to be in a saltwater environment, which is not great. They have a harder life for sure. But when you compare it to a stern drive boat that's been sitting in the water most of its life, unless you find one, a 280 dancer or 310 dancer, something, or the Bayliner that Bo mentioned, the Sierra, you find something that's been on a trailer, which is unlikely, but they're out there. Um, I don't know that the salt is too much worse than a stir drive that's always been in the water that wasn't well taken care of. But yeah, I could definitely see that flying and doing what you need. But again, your cockpit is laid out more for fishing, which maybe you want to do some of that. So I don't know of many of these type of boats. If you search for walkarounds, this would probably technically it's probably listed as a walk around. Coastal fishing, fiberglass, deep V. Um, Trying to see how it was. But if you search for walk around, you'll find more of those that are outboard. Some of them will be diesel inboards or just inboards, but you'll definitely find more outboards with that search criteria than just cruisers. So good. That's awesome. That looks like it could be a really good option for you. Option for you as well. Some marinas are hotter than others. Um, yeah, it all depends on how well they monitor. Do they monitor for electrical current in their water? For the marina I worked at, it was a freshwater lake, and we had maybe just under 100 wet slips, and we didn't check the water unless somebody pulled their boat and their drive was destroyed. And even then it was all right, let's put some cathodes on, let's check to see if we can figure out who it is, solve that problem. But it wasn't like we continued to monitor it, although they do make devices that make it somewhat easy to do. You just drop the probes in and it tells you if there's current. And then you can kind of drag them around to find where the source is, and then you got to figure out, all right, where exactly is it coming from? But if I had a stern drive and I left it in the marina, I would buy one of those probes, and I would monitor around my boat, and maybe up to 2 slips away, just to solve that issue before it cost me big bucks. And like I was saying, Paulie on that All Things Boating podcast, he said to replace his Bravo 3 drive was going to be $9,700. So, it's a not an insignificant amount. All right, Bob, welcome, Bob. I haven't seen your name yet. What do you think about Massimo Marine double lounger pontoon quality construction? Um, that is one pontoon brand that I have not personally inspected, and I have inspected a ton of pontoons. Let me take a look. Um, okay, so this is why I haven't. I knew I recognized that name. Um, I'm not sure what they've got going on, or if they're private labeling these, if there's another manufacturer building them. I'm gonna watch this video real quick to see if it jogs my memory. But I researched these guys a little bit, but I've never inspected one personally. Yeah, this is just gonna be all right. That didn't tell me nothing. Let do this, Bob. Send me an email. Send me an email to captain@boatersecretweapon.com, and I'll watch a couple of these videos and give you my thoughts on it. here's when I see a brand like this, is one of the things that jumps out with me is resale value. Is they can't build very many boats um, in most areas. Maybe they're big in a certain area that I'm not aware of, but I would say cautious of resale value, because if it's an unknown brand, people get a little bit nervous about buying them. They've got uh, there's let's see the about us manufacturer ultra luxury pontoons, tritoons, paddleboards. Um, Game changer in the pontoon fishing sector by upping the bar with innovation and features. Key requirements to be a proven leader. Hopes to introduce new features, design, standard options to boat sector itself, offering price advantage by trimming the operational fat, putting the savings into your pocket. Why do I think that they were doing a direct manufacturer direct? I've got to dig into it a little bit more, but I know I've started going down this rabbit hole when I was doing research for another video. But shoot me an email and I'll let you know what I come up with. There's another guy ahead of you from last week's live that I haven't his K2 boats. If you're on here, that's still on my list of things to do, but I'm starting to overwhelm myself, and I traveled up to Ohio to do a video shoot last week, so was on the road for 3 days. Didn't get much sleep, so last week was not a very productive week. But anyone have their boat on Lake Wallapaupack? I don't know. That's a lake that I have not heard of, but I'm gonna pull it up just to um Wallenpaupack. Um, just to have it in my places to check out. I like the scroll. Okay. Scroll's okay on my phone. Can't read the scroll. Um, eyes are on the first thing to go. Yeah, that's for sure. I've got I always forget I have them, but I've got my readers that when I'm really doing a lot working on the computer, or I'm writing a book now and going through and doing the editing with my editor, I've got to get those babies out. But the book is basically everything on the channel. It's a book on how to buy a boat. We're trying to zero in on the title. I think it's gonna be called Boat Buyer's Secret Weapon, but it's yeah, the eyes are a rough one. Not interested in any four-cycle outboards. Scroll not visible when watching from my cell. Okay. Scroll looks fine. All right, good, good. Spark plugs can be changed every 50 hours. Changing them unnecessarily is a waste. Yeah, it depends. It depends on what's called for. And This might be the truest thing that's ever been posted in the comments, Dirt Dude. All boats are project boats. Yeah. If listen, I talk about this in a couple of my videos, is you've got two choices as a boat owner. Is you can be handy and do the work yourself, but you've got to clean it, you've got to maintain it, you've got to keep up to date with all of the stuff, boat, motor, trailer, or you could write a check and you can have somebody upkeep it, maintain it. But even then, you still, when you get done, you got to wipe down the seats, wipe down the exterior. You got to keep it dry. You got to keep it clean. You got to keep all of the gear out. You got to pick out the, Doritos that got stomped into your carpet or your flooring or whatever. You got to wipe the grease off that, a buddy of mine keeps his chaparral in the dry stack on Lake Norman, and the boat above him, the gear lube's dripping right down on his swim platform. And you gotta deal with that stuff. There's no such thing as, like you got classic cars or you've got motorcycles. Well, motorcycles aren't a good example, but that you put them in the garage, you put a cover over them, and you pull it out. All you got to do is start it up every now and again. A boat, you're not going to find that good of a situation. There's always something that Boater Tom is here. Good, good. Um, Corey, Lake George is on the list. That one is on the list. Oh, that was the wrong Skagit that I pulled up. Girlfriend's come homes in 3 days, hoping to surprise her with the boat ride. she's going to get a new boat. That's even a better surprise, Bo. That is a much better surprise. Secured a test drive tomorrow. See how it goes. Let us know. Let us know how it goes. IT consulting. Still have got back from Center Hill Lake. Awesome there. Last 2 weekends. Pray more issues don't keep happening to me. I'm going to pull up Center Hill Lake. So if you haven't seen it, Center Hill Lake in Tennessee, IT Consulting bought a Barletta pontoon, a brand that I've always promoted. I still think they're a great brand, but has had a bad experience. I connected him kind of through the chat with the president and vice president, Bill and Jeff, and said, hey, this is a guy that's not happy. I know you guys are serious about service and taking care of your customers. It sounds like from the other comments that still hasn't been satisfied with his 20-foot Barletta, and has had issues. So hopefully things are getting better. Hopefully you're having a good season out there. But it's, I hate that that's happened, and I hate that a brand that I've had such good experience with, and so many people have had a good experience, has given you a crap experience. And so hopefully you're having a good season at least. A 59 Skagit is the first fiberglass production boat. They're beautiful. Bo, I knew you were gonna come out on that one. Listen, if watch my Bayliner video, there's, you can say what you want about Bayliner, and they've had their issues in the past. But for the money, you get a lot of boat, and you can have just as much fun on a Bayliner as you can have on a Cobalt. Is it the same? Absolutely not. But in the past, if you take out the 80s, take out that where they made some bad decisions and had issues, they keep getting better and better and better. And I think people that crap on Bayliner too much, they don't have their mind open to the improvements that have been made. But everybody's got their own opinion, and maybe it's not right for you, but it certainly is right for a group of people that know what they're getting. Yeah, it's the quality control over the pandemic has been disappointing. Hopefully things are improving, but they're still having labor issues. I mean, I think that's going to be an ongoing thing. I don't know that that's necessarily pandemic related. I think that is the reality of the situation, is we don't have as many people entering the workforce as we have that are retiring out of it with the skilled labor positions, the welders, the fiberglass layers, the people that are able to build these boats by hand, and then build them the right way and follow the templates and do the little details that make the boat problem free when they get delivered. And unfortunately, I think that's an issue that will continue to plague the boating industry. I hope they certain manufacturers get better at it. Yeah, the aluminum cathodes for sure. What do you think about the same boat with Yamaha versus Burke single outboard 1,000 hours? So I talk about this a little bit, that the useful life of, in my opinion, this is my opinion. I'm not a technician. Don't ask me to do any more than just a basic. I could change your fuel water separator. I could probably change your fuel filter. I could probably do your oil change without damaging anything. But if you ask me to do something, yeah, I could change your gear lube probably. But if you ask me to change your impeller, I'm starting to get out of my depth. So that tells you about my mechanical skills. Okay. But in my opinion, the useful life of a pleasure boat outboard, 1,000, 1,500, maybe 2,000 hours if it's been well taken care of. If it's in saltwater, it's probably closer to the 1,500. Now, I'm taking out the commercial people The rental boats, the charter guys that run their boats 5, 6, 7 times a week, they're changing their oil monthly. They're doing all of their service, every month or two. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the pleasure boater that runs it on the weekends, every third weekend, and it sits more than it's run. Okay. 1,000, 1,500, maybe 2,000 if it's incredibly well taken care of before you start having issues. So you're on the cusp. If it was really, really well taken care of, you may have another 500, maybe 1,000 hours if it was incredibly well taken care of and serviced, and you continue that over time. Merc versus Yamaha. I'm not really concerned. I did a video on Mercury versus Yamaha, and other than the handful of known issues on some of those, and again, most of those may have been resolved with a service bulletin, with basically a warranty fix, have been resolved there. But I would be nervous about 1,000 hours putting it on, pushing a big heavy walk around or a big heavy cruiser, like we looked at, Gideon. So that's my thoughts. That's my thoughts on. mm, you're getting to my. I'm not super comfortable spending 30 to 50 grand on this boat, knowing that if I'm gonna have to repower it, it's gonna be 30 grand to repower with the right horsepower and something new. Um, so jack off. The time in Ohio was super interesting. It was great. I think I haven't seen any of the footage. I was way out of my element. It was chaotic. I wasn't in charge. I tend to be I like to be in charge of things. I like to be the one that knows what's to doing, that's directing people. That's my personality. There, I'm not a videographer. I don't have the vision of how to shoot things. I didn't organize all the people and the cast members, but we had 8, 10 cast members that were in it, 2 videographers, my marketing guy that I'll call him the producer slash director, 3 boats, and then me. And we're doing all this for me, for my product and my marketing. But I'm just sitting there like I'm adding zero value other than, hey, can I get you a water? Let me go run and get that for you. Like I tried to be helpful in that way. But we had so many different things going on. We shot all these different scenes in 3 different locations. We had kids. We had a baby. It was just a wild, wild day. The lake was amazing. We were on Lake Portage or Portage Lakes in Ohio. Just like I drove right by the Canton, Ohio, the football NFL Hall of Fame, probably 30 minutes from there, if that, maybe 15. But it was a really cool, unique lake. It had all these little canals and all these little arms, and which were all no wake. They only had these 2, they called them speed zones, and they had a big sign up that said what you could do and when. So like you could only ski during the weeks for an hour and a half from 5 to 6:30 p.m. on weekdays. That's the only time you could do water skiing or water sports, tubing, all of that. If it was after 7 o'clock, it was all no wake, across every part of the lake. They call it the Iron Channel. They had this really narrow channel. You could probably get 2 boats through there, but if one of them wasn't a good driver, it would get hairy. That took you into another section of the lake, another speed zone area, that was maybe 100 yards long. It was a really cool experience. I can't wait to see a final video from it to see, and you'll certainly be seeing it on the channel, and I'll share it with everybody. So, um, yeah, so that was Ohio. Drove up there, got there at like 10 o'clock at night, um, stayed at an Airbnb, woke up, met everybody at the office. We were at the marina, um, shot from 10 to like, I think I got off the lake at like 9 o'clock at night. Um, 8 jumped in the truck and drove back home the next day. So it was like 7 hours of driving, 7 hours of driving there, 7 hours of driving back, and then, a full day of just crazy chaoticness where the guys that were doing the work, they came through, they organized it. I was super excited, and it was cool to be a part of it. Um, Mercury Marine, Washington, Lake Washington, Puget Sound, San Juan Islands. I've been up to the San Juan Islands, and it's beautiful up there. Dirt Dude, let me know if you would agree with me on the 1,000 to 1,500 to 2,000 hours on the outboards. On the stern drives, I use those same numbers. I would say 1,000, 1,500 is probably my max on a stern drive. I wouldn't even go to 2,000, but on some of the and let me know if you're still a master tech, if you're retired. If to be a master tech, you've got to have been in the industry for 20 years. That the parts guy at the dealership I was at was a master tech. And I mean, the knowledge that these guys have to even become a master tech is light years ahead of what I know. And so I'm curious if you would agree with that. If you would agree with that or not. So, and feel free, Dirt Dude, chime in the comments, or add your expertise, because like I said, that's where I'm coming from. Um, and I know a lot. Like I say in the intro, I know a lot about boats. I don't know anywhere close to all of it, and there's people that probably know way more than me, and people know different things. Even somebody that just bought a boat has had different experiences that I may not have, and so it looks like Bo and Dirt Dude, despite the Bayliner friction, are becoming friends here. So that's good to see. um, so, all right. Let's see. Holy crap, we're almost at an hour and a half here. So let's roll through and deposit on a Bayliner. What comment did I miss? Rick is getting nervous. Rick, watch my video on the Bayliner. And you know, understand that it's a value brand, which means it's not built to the same level as a Cobalt or a Sea Ray. Um, but it's got the same engine. Now the wiring, some of the things that they do are going to be a little bit different, but overall it's a good boat, a safe boat. Um, but you're going to have little ticky tacky stuff go wrong with it over time. Take good care of it, and it can last. But there will be, screws will loosen up, things will rattle a little bit sooner than they would on a more expensive boat, and yet you can buy a 21 for half of what you would pay for the premium, and you can have just as good a time on that as anybody else would have on a more expensive boat. So eh, but like I talk about in that video, do Bayliners suck is what I call it, because Bayliners, for whatever well, I know liner they have a history of being an inexpensive brand they did some too cheap of things back in the day. I think in the last 10 years they've really improved. And But understand that there's going to be some things where they got the price down because they use cheaper, less material, and not as stringent of building techniques, I guess is probably the right way to say it. But it's a safe boat. Don't be turned off by that. If you like it, you did your due diligence, you know what you're buying, and you'll be happy. So, IT consulting, you're very, very welcome. And Yeah, for sure. I hope everybody has I don't care what you buy. If you buy a $5,000 used boat, I want you to have a great experience. That's why this channel has kind of come about. Is there's It can be challenging. I mean, you spent a good amount of money on the in my opinion, one of the best brands, and you still had a bad experience. There are people that buy boats and they don't realize that they should look at certain things. They don't realize they should ask certain questions. They don't realize how important the manufacturer and the dealer is. I don't know what your experience with your dealer was, but all of those things matter. And the more I can help people make smarter decisions so that they're like, no, boating is awesome. And then teach them how to boat the right way with the best boat captain programs and trailer like a pro so that they can be safe boaters and the waterways are people know what they're doing out there and it's safer and everybody's having more fun. That's the whole point behind what I'm doing here. Um, I don't watch Pokemon. I'm gonna take this guy out because I have a feeling the next comment is gonna be um, something we don't want to see. Um, First timer, 2012, out of Lakeside Marina in Wisconsin. Well, welcome to the channel, Rick. Don't be nervous. Go through the videos and make sure when you take delivery of that boat, make sure that you, okay, so it's a 2012, so it's a pre-owned boat. Make sure you go through that boat in detail so you know exactly what you're getting if you haven't done that. Um, Baylor is just a lower tier boat. Yeah, it's exactly right. Um, all right. Well, good. I'm trying not to make anything up when I answer the questions, Gideon. Happy with the price tag. Yeah, very good. All right, it is almost an hour and a half. So if you've got your last questions, throw them in there, and we will get to them. Our Remember, if you're buying a boat, grab the toolkit. If you're a boat owner, check out the Boater Boot Camp. They're both totally free. You can get them at the website, boatersecretweapon.com. If you're buying a boat and you want a little bit more hand holding, a little bit more kind of concise information, the First Time Boat Buyer Academy is for you. There's also a negotiation piece I call the magic money saving method, that it's saved a ton of people, hundreds, most of them, it's like 2,000, 2,500 is kind of the extra they save after they've negotiated the normal way. If you buy from a dealer, there's other tricks and other tactics and strategies there. The best boat captain, if you struggle operating your boat, docking your boat, tying your boat up. It's not a boater safety course. It touches on some of that, but it's a how to drive your boat properly, how to run your boat in open water. The best boat captain will make you a better boat operator. For sure. There's a pontoon version, there's a single engine. We've got trailer like a pro if you struggle trailering, loading, unloading your boat, doing all that stuff, tow water sports with confidence, and everything comes with the money back guarantee. All right, so there's that. So let's get to Steve. Steve says, Sea Ray Sundeck 200, 210. Do you know what the floor is made of? Early 2000s. Looked at two, both had soft floors. Yes, there is wood in there. Sea Ray went to 2005 is the year that's jumping in my head. Like 2003 to 2005. I don't know for sure on the 210 Sun Deck when that switch happened because they started with this model and then they did the next model and then they did the other model. So it wasn't all Sea Rays at one time. It was over time they converted everything from encapsulating the stringers and encapsulating the flooring. And then they took the wood out completely and did a fiberglass floor. It was 03 to 05, and that time frame is when it happened. Just continue doing what you're doing, Steve, is kind of hop up and down on the floor, and make sure that you don't buy one that's got a soft floor unless you're looking for a project, and it doesn't sound like you are. Just walk away, tap the hull, open the ski locker, get down and try to poke around in the stringers anywhere you can find access to something, to see if there's, and if it's encapsulated, you should be good. But those were the time frames where you should see that switch over. hull's decent. Mercruiser power is awesome, but everything else in the entire boat. Yeah, it's there's a reason why they, and you're in saltwater up there too, up in that area. In freshwater, it's a little bit different situation. It's not as harsh of environment, so you don't have as many wiring issues on the value brands as you do when you're in saltwater. That definitely makes a difference. Maxima was a bayliner made with much higher quality material. Yep, for sure. Um, yeah, Maxim's an interesting story. They had nice boats, but they just got Sea Ray kept coming down in quality on some of their sport boats, and Bayliner tried to keep improving. You need a logo and a sticker for us to bump up. Well, I've got all right. So I've got, if you buy any of my programs, and I'm about a month delayed. There we go. That's my boater secret weapon sticker. I've got, you can buy shirts and stuff if you're interested. I had these shirts made for the video that we shot in Ohio, was for the best boat captain. So I had these made with pontoons and with the bow rider that I'm going to try to get up on the store here at some point. I've had so many other things that I've wanted to do, but I would love any support, Gideon. Would appreciate it. Any kind of promoting, sharing videos on social media, things like that. But you can go check out apparel. It's just got the basic boater secret weapon logos on it in different styles. But you've got the anchor, you've got the center console, which I'm wearing the sweatshirt right now. The dual console. We've got a pontoon. And there's different of those if you want to check those out. And those are printed on demand. So through a third party. So I don't actually have a stack of shirts here to show you. But it gives me a little bit more flexibility to offer more stuff. So, and thank you. Any support from anybody is appreciated. All right, Antonio, opinion on a 07 194 Cobia with the 115 Yamaha. So Cobia, in my opinion, the new ones that I've inspected, I haven't inspected at 07, are nice boats. I would put them in mid-tier, maybe upper mid-tier. But just like I've said about everybody looking at a used boat that's over 10 years old, it's more important, in my opinion, how that boat was taken care of. That 07 Cobia, that 115 Yamaha, it's more important how that was taken care of and maintained, where it was kept, than the brand. Here's my take on it is, if it was cheap material, it's broken by now, or it's going to show itself to have broken. So the gauges aren't going to be working. The compression's going to be low on the engine, or the delamination has started and you can tap it to find it. The seats are ripping. That the cheap things are going to show themselves after, what is that, 15 years, right? So it's more important to go through your boat in full detail. You can check out the video, buying a used center console, on how to go through everything. And again, take your time on the inspection process, because that's where that's where the mistake I think most people make, that say, break out another 1,000. The best day and the worst day of a boater's life is the day they buy and the day they sell. That's the best day, two best days of a boater's life. Well, when you make a mistake, when you buy without doing your research and without knowing what you're buying, it can be expensive. It can be a disaster, and you can have a terrible experience. The more the more you know how to inspect, the more you know what you're looking for, the more you know what red flags to be on the lookout for, the more likely you are to make a smart decision and buy a boat, even if it's a $5,000 used boat, are $100,000 new boat or $200,000 new boat, which should be inspected as well before you write the final check. Those things all matter. So go through that boat in full detail. On that '07, that probably can pull the RPMs off, the history. You can pull compression. You can check the gear lube to make sure that there's no metal shavings in the gear lube. That little nut on the bottom should be magnetic. I think in '07 it probably still was. On the Yamahas, if there's metal shavings in there, run your finger on it and see, is it just a little bit, or are there some serious shavings in there? That's a issue. Well, now, what's the price? What are you willing to get into in fixing? Or is it enough red flags that you walk away? That's what I think is most important. But definitely in that '07, get out your trusty screwdriver and tap that hole for sure on a boat that old. And dealer was not good at all. All right. Well, as long as they're getting better, that's good to hear. But that's why another reason why I say the dealer is as important as the manufacturer. When you're talking new, when you're buying new, the dealer that you buy from is as important, if not more important, than the manufacturer that you buy. So if I'm buying a pontoon, let's say, my top are going to be Barletta, Bennington, Harris. Manitou was in that top with this new drive that they've put on. I say this about any first generation, anything in boating. Don't buy it. Don't buy the first generation of anything in boating. At maybe the second year, probably the third year is when I would get comfortable. But that new drive with everything being underwater just worries the crap out of me. And it worries that the Manitou brand is going to take a big hit, because I can't imagine the dealers rushing out to buy a whole bunch of those. But anyway, it's beside the point. The dealer is so important because if there are quality issues coming from the manufacturer, and every new boat has something wrong with it, the good dealers are going to find it before they deliver it, so that they deliver the best boat they can. But in the first year, there's going to be something that breaks, something that needs to be tightened up, something that needs to be adjusted. It's part of boating. And I talk about that in several of my videos. But a good dealer will be like, yeah, let's get you taken care of. Let's get that fixed. Let's find that before we deliver it to the consumer. The bad dealers are going to shit that baby out the door, take your money, and then say, we'll try to get you in when we can. And they don't do a great job. So thanks, Corey. Have a great one. We'll see you next week. Last question for the day. Have you ever had a competitor dealer take strange action against you? I'm not a dealer, so I don't sell any boats anymore. I used to. I sold boats for 5 years for a dealership that is now a Marine Max in the Carolinas. But I don't sell. You can't buy a boat for me if you wanted to. This is something that, but I did have one dealer that flamed me out on a bunch of comments, which I'm assuming somebody took some of my advice, didn't buy the boat that they were selling for whatever reason. They disagreed with the advice I gave. They were mad that I lost that sale. That's what I think probably happened. And they just lit me up on like a series of 5 or 6 video comments. And I responded to each, said, hey, if there's something specific you would like to say I did wrong, advice I gave wrong, let me know. I'm not perfect. Like dirt dude, he knows more about the mechanical things than I ever will. As a master tech, I don't even know him, but I know if he's a master tech for Mercury, he knows way more than me about those things. This guy, maybe there was something I said wrong in my video, but so that's the worst thing that's ever happened is I've got some really nasty comments, which I laugh off. And I think it's just part of, I put myself out there to offer advice. Hey, if other people disagree with the advice, I also deserve to take the wrath that comes with it. So, Daniel, sorry I missed the live Q&A. New boater looking to get a pontoon for the family and fishing. Do you think the market will rise this year? What time frame after summer do you recommend to purchase? So I've been doing my research to put together my new market update. Here's what I think is going to happen. I think new boats are going to continue to increase. I think the pricing is going to increase, not as drastically as it has, but there's still shortages, especially on the larger horsepower Yamahas specifically. Mercury, I thought, was doing better, but I've heard some that there's still some issues getting some of the Mercuries. I don't know how accurate that is for most manufacturers. Suzuki's is struggling a little bit, but not as much as Yamaha on those. The Mercruiser and the Volvo, I hadn't heard any issues with them getting product. Yamaha jet boats are still struggling to get boats out the door. So because of that, because they can't get the boats built, because they have labor issues, because they're way behind on production and their people have been selling ordered slots, because of all that, I don't see a dip in new boat pricing. Because of that, I don't see the used boat pricing falling off the cliff. But you're probably noticing it. There's less demand. Boats are not going as fast as they have been. They're staying on the market a little bit longer, and I don't see a falling off, but I see those leveling out until the new boats um, are the dealer inventory is filled back up. All the ordered boats are kind of filled. The supply chain, the motors are being delivered on time, and everything goes back to kind of smooth sailing in their inventory management. I think those prices are gonna stay slightly going up and then level off. Once that happens, then we'll see used prices trick down a little bit. Um, but I don't think it's going to fall off the edge of the cliff unless there's a major economic issue that happens. Then we could see that. We could see all these people that have ordered boats cancel their orders. Now there's all these new boats on the market. They're having to do rebates on the new stuff, which then is going to trickle down to the used stuff, and prices are going to drop. But there's got to be a major incident. With that said, things are slowing down. Dealers know things are slowing down. Let's see. Looking to get a pontoon. You didn't say new or used, Daniel. So let's see if you said here. Main. Okay. So here's what I think. That's kind of what I see happening. Okay. That's the way, unless if there's a major incident, the in 2007, the mortgage meltdown, Lehman went under and the market just crashed. Stock market went down very quickly. Everybody canceled. If that kind of thing happens, then there's going to be an issue. So assuming everything goes smoothly and we don't have a major incident like that, what I would say is figure out what you want, get zeroed in on the brands. Like I said, if you're buying new, the dealer is as important, if not more important than the brand that you buy. Figure out your price point, figure out the couple of models that you like, figure out the couple of brands that you like, narrow it down, and then start working with those dealers to see who's going to give you the best price. Don't commit to anything, because what will happen is somebody probably will cancel an order and a boat will come available, or they get a production boat that's an inventory boat. And the dealers are, I think, at the point where they're saying, hey, I would rather sell this boat now for maybe a little less than to hold it till spring. Because in the wintertime, they start bringing all their inventory in, they build it up, build it up, build it up. So come boat show season, whenever the boat show is in your area, I think you said you were in Maine. I don't know when the boat shows in Maine are, but January, February, March, April, somewhere in that time, that's when they start selling. And then when the weather really warms up, that's when they're going and they're getting retail. So in that time frame from after Labor Day to your boat show, that time period is the best time to negotiate. Play them off each other a little bit. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's the right time to buy a boat. I'm not sure if I want this or that. I don't know what I want to do, and play that game to start negotiating. every dealer is going to be a little different. Every dealer has a different financial position. One of the dealers may be more conservative and say, man, if we can move these boats in the off season, I don't have the floor plan expense, the cost of interest on their boats. If I can sell it before that kicks in, I'm willing to sell this for a little bit less because that will keep the cash flow coming in. I don't know what that month is, but November, December tend to be the two slowest months. And then, pay attention. Is there an economic issue that you see coming that would keep you from making that decision? Negotiate other things along with that. Um, can they offer you storage? Can they keep the boat? If you buy it in December, can they keep the boat and have it ready for you in you know, May, whenever ice out is in your area? Can you run the boat? So anyway, those are some thoughts for you on when to buy. And then if you can do it before the boat show, after Labor Day, preferably a couple months after Labor Day, is when they're going to be more open to talking to somebody about buying a boat, because they're not selling any boats during that time. Um, Got to keep the merch on the screen behind you. Uh-oh. I don't know what I did with it. There we go. We'll let that cycle through. Thanks, Corey. It's got an idea. Tell you next episode. All right. Right before Christmas. Yeah. A lot of dealers, especially up in the north, in the colder climates, will shut down for 2 weeks over Christmas and New Year's. And when they get back, they get on that. Okay, now we're getting ready for the season, getting ready for the boat shows. And that can be a good time for sure. Before I tell you, think about being on a San Diego fishing podcast, just sharing knowledge about the process. Okay. Hey, I'm open to talk to anybody. I had a guy that was a spearfish diver from San Diego on the podcast a while back, and glad to talk to other people and expand the audience. All right, I'm in Maine, so sure, their market slows in the winter. Yeah, I think the advice that you're getting from Dirt Dude and from Brock is right on, right on. All right, Dennis, words of wisdom right there. Know what you're yeah, yeah. It's you would be surprised how many people go into a dealership and are sold something and they haven't really thought through their boating style. It sounds like a odd thing to say, but it's so common. It's so common. I got a great deal on it. Oh, but I want to fish and it's a jet boat, whatever. Um, that is the water testing. Water testing is I even on the new stuff, make sure you can do your demos now, so you can start your shopping now, and run these boats so you know what horsepower you need, you know what layout you like, you know what the length is, you know it's going to perform the way you want it to. And then when you buy it and lock everything in the off season, you can be good. If it's used, I tell people on the used side, if you can't run that boat before you write the check, don't write the check. There's too many things that you can't find unless you run that boat under load. And it's something that you may miss out on a great opportunity, but you're also very, very likely to avoid a bad situation. Um, yeah, Daniel, I would test drive it now. Um, I didn't even see that question, but yeah, I would test drive them now. So if you can run that brand of boat with the 150 tri-tune or 200 or a 60 or whatever you're going to get, just to make sure it's going to perform the way you want it to and do what you want it to do. On the pontoons, they're not making any major changes in the way the pontoons are built. If it's a fiberglass boat and there's some hull design changes, which only happen every 5, 7, maybe 10 years, where they really change the design of the boat and the molds. The pontoons, it's going to ride the same. So if you figure all that out, you can be pretty confident in placing your order and buying it. And again, just like we said, the manufacturers are behind and dealers don't have a ton of inventory. If you do this in January, or if you do this in November or December, you're probably still going to have to order a boat. So which means that they've got to put it in, depending on what their production schedule is, when their slots are, will depend on when you're going to get it. So I would be shocked if they just had an inventory boat for you, exactly what you were looking for. Um, yep, yep, right on. Yep, you guys got it. All right. Let's see. 3 years ago, my wife surprised me with the new bass boat, not driven. I grew up on a bass boat, so I was fine. Yeah, it's I get real nervous of first time boaters that buy boats without running them, especially when they don't know exactly what they're looking for. Go down the smaller horsepower because it saves them a couple grand, and they don't realize the difference between a 75 and a 115 is significant, on the performance, especially when you put some weight on the boat. So yeah, test drive them now, when hopefully you can find a dealer that has the inventory of the type of boat. Doesn't matter what the deck up looks like, as long as the deck down is what you're looking for. Tri-tune with the same package on the boat that you would have with the same horsepower. Doesn't really matter if it's set up as a single lounge or a center walkthrough or a quad lounge or a fishing setup. That is irrelevant. It's not going to change the ride of it. Just the deck down needs to be the same, and the horsepower especially. And then if it, like Bennington's got their elliptical tubes, they've got their 20 or 32-inch tubes, they've got their 27, they've got their 25. Just make sure the tubes layout design is what you're going to order with the same horsepower, and you'll have a pretty, 99% of the ride experience will be the same. Here, nothing rough by any means. Gonna order in February, have it ready by May. Maybe, maybe not. It depends. I did this video. Let's see. This is why it's hard to answer that. Ordered. Let's see if I can pull this up. Yeah. All right. So I did this video, how ordered boats work and why yours may be taking a little longer. So I did this video for the people that ordered a boat, and they were hearing other people on social media saying, they ordered in December and they're still waiting on their boat in August. And somebody said, I ordered in May and I just took delivery of my boat. This video explains why that happens, and how the ordered boat process works from the consumer side, the dealer, and the manufacturer side. So that might be an interesting video for you to watch, Daniel, that will clear up some of the mechanics of how it would work. Yeah, Brock's got a story on taking that. Once your boat 6 months. Yeah, to a certain extent, but right now, sometimes they're just, no matter how big your checkbook is, there's not a boat available. But yeah, there's a certain point that that is true, especially in normal times. So I like to keep the checkbook as low as possible. Um, all right. All right. It is, holy crap. We're almost at 2 hours. Well, thank you everybody for sticking with us. We've got 38 people still on. Thank you all very much. I'm calling it a night. I'm spent. Thank you everybody for being in the comments. Thanks for all the questions. Thanks for all the support. If anybody wants to go, grab some merch, I would love to see some Boater Secret Weapon gear running around. I told my wife that'll be the best day, is if we're out on the water and I see one of my shirts or one of my stickers on a boat of somebody that I don't know. I'll be like, holy crap, this is amazing. Some goofy little channel I started 3 years ago And now people are wearing the stuff. So good luck, Daniel. We are every Sunday we do this. Dirt Dude, welcome. Thanks for all your input and your expertise. I love having people that have more knowledge than me and different knowledge than me in the comments. So thank you, everybody. We'll catch you next Sunday, 8:30 Eastern time. Take care, everybody.